Sitting here with manager Marco Louis, getting his head chopped by Rook Razor Knapp, the IBO Youth World Champion. Marco, how's it feel getting your haircut right now?
It's quite an awkward interview, I won't lie. Yeah, haven't had Rook cut my hair for over 2 years. Now he's a celebrity, so he doesn't cut his manager's hair anymore.
So, I mean, does he do it better than your barber that you go to?
We're about to find out, but I think so, yeah. I don't think he's lost it. I think it's one of those things. It's like boxing. Once you know how to do it, you do it forever. Am I right, Rook?
It's fine. That's why I'm cutting your hair with the shavers I use my balls, bro. Talking shit like that, I cut my balls with these clippers.
I'll be honest with you, I hope he actually fucks it up.
He won't.
No, we came up with a fresh one. Always cut his hair. Marco's my first client, bro, so it's actually that guy.
So, Marco, let's talk about plans for the year. You know, you obviously got Rook, you manage Rook, but there's some other guys that you're bringing on board as well. Can you talk to us about that?
Yeah, so basically, I think I've got quite a good record. 1 fighter, 1 champion. So I'm doing quite well. So I always said once I made Rook a champ, regardless if it was an SA champ or international belt, whatever it was, we would look at growing the stable alongside Rook. So Rook would be a partner in growing the stable. This is crazy. I think we're going to do this interview again, but anyway. No, so yeah, we're looking at doing that, growing the stable. We have got 2 new guys that we've looked at. We've got a guy called Nelson Mabele, who is a middleweight. He actually, funny enough, is with Rook's old trainer with Mimo Espirito. Very talented kid, tall, strong. So I'm looking forward to putting him onto a show one of these days. I have spoken to Golden Gloves about it. I've spoken to a few other promoters about him. So as soon as I think the ball starts rolling, we will. This is bad, bro. We're doing this interview again. Fine.
Just start again. Bro, I can't. So just carry on. I'll just edit it.
Yeah. So Nelson's definitely coming on board.
I think he's nervous about the haircut.
No, I'm not.
Don't be scared, homie. Don't be scared.
No, I'm not scared of you. You cut me a million times. Yeah, so we got Nelson, and we in talks. Well, not in talks. We have kind of sorted it out. We got Shavante Koopman, who he just wanted to make a change last year, which obviously didn't work out for him due to the fact of COVID. But yeah, I'm going to be helping him out. So we got him, and then there's little Dwayne DeToy. He's also with Mimo Espirito. Shavante will be with Vusi. So yeah, things are looking good. I'll have Rook, I'll have Koopman, Dwayne DeToy. I think he's going to be in the lightweight division, and Nelson Mabele in the middleweights. So yeah, I thought we can grow 4 people. There is another 2 guys that I don't really want to talk about at the moment. We're just finalizing that. And yeah, let's see where we go in the new year. All talented guys. I don't, it's horrible, managers. I always say this, I'd rather not take guys that I don't believe are going to make it. Because when I take a guy, I want to put everything into them. And that's what I did with Rook. I've said it many times, it's not knocking other managers, but I don't believe managing is arranging fights for fighters. These guys can do that themselves. None of these guys are retarded or stupid. We create this illusion in boxing that all boxers they're not the smartest guys and they can't handle their own matters. They can. So a fighter can easily approach a promoter and say, listen, I'm looking for a fight. If he's good enough, he's probably going to get that fight. So management goes a lot further than that. I've said it a million times. And I think once we as a South African public and as a South African boxing fraternity understand that, and fighters understand that, I think we'll get more value out of managers, 1, and 2, we'll get more value from fighters. Because fighters will improve. They'll see, I think there's very few guys doing it the right way. You see with Rook, I've only got Rook as a track reference, but the truth is, he, I've done everything for him. I've given him every possibility to make success of himself. We've changed trainers, we've moved from different strength and conditioning guys. We've got him sponsors. You just have to try and fulfill and make your fighter's life better. And that's the only thing, really. That's the most important thing. If you're not willing to do that work, then you can't call yourself a manager. You can't call yourself a boxing manager if you're not willing to go and try and scout sponsors for your guys, negotiate your fight purses, put your fighter ahead of of yourself, which is not easy because, people always have, that's always a financial gain for every manager. That's how they want to look at it. But with Rock, that's what I did. I gave him the best opportunity, how's it put, to be something. I won't. I've given him the best chances, and I want to do that now with the new guys coming through. We're constantly doing interviews, putting him in newspapers, trying to get him on radio. I'm constantly trying to grow his brand. I want to grow him bigger than boxing, if that makes sense. And that's what I think the focus of a manager should be. I don't think your focus should just be on let's find this guy a fight, let's find this guy a fight. It is hard to find fights in South Africa. We don't have a lot of promoters. So I think when you should align yourself with the promoter and work with your promoter. That's what I do with Rock. I've aligned myself with Golden Gloves. I'm extremely happy with him. They've kept him active. From day one, that's all I asked. Please keep Rock active. Titles and stuff weren't actually my focus. They've come now, which is great, 2 years down the line. And he's well set. He's 22. He's got quite a nice title now. And I think we're going to keep developing Rock. And I still believe, we always said Rock would be a world champion before 25. And I believe we're going to get there. I really do. Undoubtedly super talented. We're moving now towards working on his athletic ability, making sure that as well as his talent and his skill set, he's going to be an athlete. And I think Rock, the athlete, and the boxer is going to be Rock 2.0, which no one's going to be able to touch. So we're working on that. He's getting smarter every day in the ring, sparring the best guys, working with the best trainer. So the sky's ultimately the limit for Rock. Going back to Shavante, I think he's a super talented kid, 6-0. Worked with a brilliant trainer in the past, Colin. He's still working with Vusi now. So I think on that front we're good. His strength and conditioning is handled, I think, by his dad, who's also qualified and knows what he's doing. So I think we're going to do well with him. Then Nelson Mabele is with a great trainer. So Nemo's very good. He did great things with Rock. How's it, bro? We're happy there. I'll have to look at getting him some strength and conditioning, some sponsors, working his life, just working him slowly, making him, getting him to that point where people start talking about it. And that's ultimately where we want to go with all our fighters. We want people to be talking about them. Dwayne DeToy had a setback in his first fight. Last year was a terrible year. But he's a talented kid. Moves well. He's got good hand speed. He's got nice attributes. So we'll look and see what we can do with him this year also. And then, let's see. That's the most important thing. I think ultimately it's just growing the guys in all aspects of their lives, giving them the best chance to succeed, Sponsors aren't easy to come by. We've had this discussion before. I think boxing in general is to blame for that, Boxing South Africa. I'm talking bad about it, but it's the truth, I think corporates and casual fans have actually lost faith and confidence with Boxing South Africa. You often get people that back a fighter, and then, for whatever reason, bouts are cancelled, and fighters have used that money. So you ultimately lose if when you're sponsoring fighters or backing fighters. So we don't want that to happen. The guys I bring on board, I always try and educate all the corporates in what is happening in South African boxing, that there are going to be disappointments. Fights happen, some fights don't happen. I think that's the biggest problem. I think, guys just grab sponsors and they're so excited for sponsors, but they don't actually explain what industry we're in, how it works. It's not the corporate world where things run smoothly. Things do happen. Now with COVID, bouts get cancelled, tournaments get cancelled. So if your sponsors are aware of that and, they understand the situation, then you're better off. So I think transparency is key. It's another thing that goes back to management. I just think there's no transparency, and there's no educating of the fighters. So guys are just like money hungry. Not money hungry, it's horrible to say, but they're desperate for sponsors. So they'll grab it, and whatever happens, happens. So you have a sponsor for one fight. There's no longevity. I mean, if you look at Rock, he's held on to basically every sponsor for 2 years. So we're constantly trying to rebrand ourselves to align ourselves with our sponsors, things like that. So that's what I'm trying to teach the fighters. It's an education process for them also. All kinds of things. I sit with the guys. I help them try and do interviews properly, talk a bit better. Not that I'm not the most well-spoken person, but saying the right
not
things.
doing too bad.
Not too bad, yeah. But that's the thing. I mean, you can even go back and see Rourke's interviews. He's improved every single time. He just speaks with more confidence. And that's all. That's you're selling yourself. I mean, otherwise you're not getting sponsors. You're getting donations. If you're not adding value to your sponsors, then what actually are you doing? What do they're getting 5 minutes on TV, and half the time there is no TV. So what are they? Why are they backing you? We've got so many platforms, social media, all of that, and that's what I'm trying to educate the guys to do as a manager. It's impossible to change, what we already have, but if all managers start making small changes, because we've got a lot of young guys managing now, we've got a lot of young trainers coming through. These guys need to take a different approach. Boxing is in a bad place. We have to be honest. It's not in a good place. We've got talent, but we don't necessarily have the backing from a board. Maybe now with a few changes it will change, but ultimately we're not in the great place. We are not a sponsor. People are not coming in and sponsoring boxes, like other sports. So we got to work at that. I think supplying confidence is the most important thing. Confidence to sponsors, confidence to the casual public. Now, people want to watch boxing, but half the time they don't know where to watch it. Yeah. There's no marketing behind from promotional sides and stuff like that. So I think collectively everybody has to kind of, excuse the language, pull their finger a bit and just get more proactive. A business doesn't succeed without marketing. Promoter, a new promoter's coming up. You can't succeed without promoting, without marketing your business, letting people know that you're having an event. People are not going to get behind you. Sponsors are not going to get behind you. Fans are not going to be there because they don't know what's going on. So I'm basically knocking everyone. Everyone's going to be like, what the hell, Marco thinks he knows everything. But the truth is, I'm just talking from a passion side. I really want to see boxing grow. We've got such talented kids, very young kids that are willing to do something in the world stage.
I've got a question for you then. I've got a question. So we see other sports being marketed really, really well, and obviously those athletes got hundreds of thousands of followers. Did you see a loophole in boxing that made you think, okay, we got some potential here, let's build a guy like Rourke, he's very marketable, and that's why you came in here? Initially,
I did it because Rourke asked me to do it. He was coming back from the UK, I think you guys know the story, and found himself in a position where he didn't have a manager. He kind of had nothing to lose, so he went with me. He asked me to do it, and I thought, I'll treat Rourke as a business. Let's see what we can do with this business. And I think we've done great. I think in 2 years we've done great. I think, barring maybe Kevin Lerena, I think Rourke's probably the most, looked after fighter in South Africa in terms of sponsorships. I think he's being marketed well in different avenues, not just in boxing, like I said. And there's definitely a loop. I think, I've got my own businesses and I run a separate entity completely from boxing. But if I was not in that position, I believe that I would probably invest a lot of myself and my money into boxing, into Rourke and into my other fighters, because there's a definite loop. I definitely believe there's a gap for people to come in, be proactive, and you can make good money, especially if you have a talented kid. Just do the work for him. Just look after him. It's a very basic thing. They're going to have times when silly things, they don't have airtime on their phone, they don't have data. You're going to have to fork out $100 and get him data so he can post. But those are tiny things, exactly, dog. Those are tiny things. They're things that you can overlook, and it's part of your job, bro. It's part of, in my opinion, it's what you have to do. We live, and I mean, Rourke's still well off compared to some of the other guys coming up. They don't have anything. There's guys that are they're really poor. So you've got to enrich them, but make sure that they're eating well, or at least eating, in fairness. Tiny things like that. We're not in a first world country where we're picking up guys coming off the amateur scene that are already making bucks, getting paid by sponsors and stuff like that. So we're picking up fighters that a lot of them are desperate. That's why they've gone into the boxing world, and they actually turn out to be really talented people. So you gotta feed that desperation initially, and keep building them, bro. Just keep building people. Just build them up slowly. Ultimately, you just satisfy their needs the best that you can if you're a manager.
So I want to ask from like a boxer's point of view. Obviously, like you got like some other guys, but your first guy was Rourke.
Yes.
How does a boxer go out and find? So there aren't that many good managers like that would go out and do that. So as a boxer, how do you actually approach that situation?
I'll be honest with you, if I was a boxer and I couldn't find a manager, if I couldn't find a manager that's willing to do more than find me fights, then I'll do it myself. And that's probably going against what I should be saying, but you don't need someone taking 15% of your money to find your fight. You just need a telephone, and you need to phone BSA, get a list of promoters in your area, in Gauteng, and phone every single promoter. Represent yourself. Say I'm a boxer, training with this fighter, or training with this trainer, and what can you do? Give me a 4-rounder, give me a shot. You're probably going to get a fight. Because it's not, if there's tournaments, it's not that hard to get a fight. Get hold of good matchmakers. There's lots of good matchmakers. AB is a great matchmaker. Get hold of these guys are willing to help young and up-and-coming fighters. They know all the trainers. They know. So, you need to find a manager that's on the same, I think, mindset and path set that you're on. So, I'm not going to fit every fighter.
Yeah.
I'm not the easiest guy to work with. You can ask Rourke. I'm always on his case. I make sure that he, I want him to send me his runs, things like that. Obviously now it's cooled down a little bit, but when Rourke was a little younger last year and a little bit more,
I've matured a lot.
He's
I've grown a lot because of certain things.
Exactly.
You don't have to actually ask, hey bro, what are you doing? Are you training? You've gone from always asking me if I'm doing things, always being on my case, to actually being able to rest at home and chill, knowing that I'm actually doing what I'm supposed to do.
Exactly.
And that comes with the incentive that I've got now. I've only been able to have that mentality because I've got incentive now.
Exactly. So that's it. And by me being a pest and pushing Rourke in that, it's made him realize that I shouldn't be doing that. I don't have to do that. I do it because I genuinely care about him. And he knows that. I don't do this for the money, but there is no money in boxing initially. There is no money. And if Rourke hits New York or Vegas or something, an international scene, then it's different. There is money in it. I don't disagree, but right now there isn't any money. This is just a manager that's trying to enrich a kid's life, that's trying to make him, and I always use the saying, I'm trying to get Rourke to change his stars. I believe that in every generation there's that person in a household or a family that can change that family, can change their stars, and I think Rourke is going to change his life. He's going to change his stars. He's going to change his path, and not by. It's not easy. Nothing comes easy in life. I run businesses. I wake up early. I run my business. It's not easy. Boxing is not easy. And I keep telling Rourke that. I know there's times when he hates boxing.
But what about the times where obviously, you say Rourke is like you're treating it as a business, but there is a lot of emotion that goes into it as well, because you are kind of emotionally invested. So how do you get that fine balance?
There's always got to be a balance, because as much as I love Rourke, I understand that he's a business on his own. He's his own business. So I've got to be, I am strict with Rourke. I'm not a yes man. He knows that. Rourke will throw me a story that he, in the past, he's gone for gone for a run. And I wouldn't just accept, yes, well done, Rourke, you went for a run. I said, send me the log, I want to see the run. He wants to train at 2 o'clock. I say, no, you'll train at 1 when Vusi's available. Things like that. It's not the fighter that makes these decisions. The manager, that's the it's not the fighter that makes these decisions. Then he might as well train himself. He might as well manage himself. He might as well do all those things himself. If you're going to be a yes man and let
that was complacency. That's all that was. That was pure complacency.
If you're going to let your fighter dictate to you, then you're not a manager, bro. If your fighter says to you, Rourke, I've organised you an interview with, let's just say, a newspaper.
Or SA Boxing Talk.
Yeah, or SA Boxing Talk at 10:30. Then he's going to be there at 10:30. I know he's got nothing else to do.
Right.
He's not going to dictate and say, listen, I'll be there at 1, because then that's not going to work. It's got to be mutual respect. And that's why I'm very lucky with Rourke. He respects me all the time. I've never had any issues. Vusi will tell you the same. He respects Vusi. Good days, bad days in the gym. Rourke's always been respectful. Always. And the guys that I've signed now, they also have that respect. And I need that as a manager. I need a guy that's going to listen to me, because I've got a plan. No thanks. I've got a plan that I believe works. I think I've shown that in these last 2 years with Rourke. And I feel that the plan is not for every fighter, but if I choose the right guys to come on board, and guys that are willing to listen to me and respect what I believe in the way forward, I think then we'll be successful with all the guys that I have. So I also choose guys on that. I mean, I watched the interview with Colin. Colin chooses guys exactly the same way as I do. Talent, obviously. Dedication, commitment. And you need a guy that's got a little bit of charisma. You need a guy that
You've got to sell something, right?
Put the bums in the seats. So I think all of my guys have got that. I think 2021 will be a good year because there will be fights. I'll get my guys going, and people will see what I mean when I say I also like a certain style. I like a guy that boxes in a certain way. So maybe to my own detriment. Yes, please. Maybe to my detriment, but Nelson and Rourke are very similar style. Dwayne's got a similar style to Rourke. Shavante is different, but I love that.
Shavante's class.
Yeah, he's got that classy behind the jab, and I like that. That's that traditional style of boxing. A tall fighter should fight like that. So they're just good people, good kids that I'm going to invest myself in, and try and help them. If I can't, I'll go to them. I'll be the first person to say, guys, I can't help you anymore. It's not working. Our plan isn't working. I'm not going to sit with kids and get them fights and manage them for 10 years and they go nowhere. That is not how it should be done. So no, let's see what 2021 brings. I think we've got some exciting things coming.
Do you got any fights announcements though or is it still like?
We are.
Rourke, it's in the pipeline, right?
It's in the pipeline. So Rourke will definitely be in action in the first quarter of I think the first quarter of this year. We're hoping for an international opponent. I'm working closely with Golden Gloves with that. So I'm excited about that. International opponent is where we want to go with Rourke. I think he's shown his class, and bouncing back from a defeat is never easy. I said this the last time to another an interview that I had. I think when you lose, you've got two parts. You either come back with a vengeance, and you show that there's skill, there's talent, there's all of that there that everyone believed you had, and you get back on the path and you continue, or you crumble and you land up in the school of average fighters. And I think Rourke proved that he's not going to be average, which is great. I think he's shown a lot of character. A lot of people wrote him off against Tristan.
Was it the last fight that you decided that Rourke had taken that step that he's not?
No, I saw the change when Rourke lost.
Okay.
Initially, I was a little bit taken back because Rourke just put it behind him so easily, and I'm a very emotional guy. So for me, it was more of an emotional defeat than like a business defeat. I was paralyzed that Rourke had lost. I could not believe that. Even a bad Rourke, knowing what he had gone through and what he did for that fight, I still believed he had enough. You knew that. We had spoken before the fight. I believe Rourke had enough to beat him. I believe Rourke has more talent than 99% of guys in one hand. So I truly believe that. So I was paralyzed by that defeat in terms of just shocked that Rourke had lost. And he was like fine. The next day he was back on the bus and I was like, Rourke, you lost yesterday. And we had that discussion and he just said, Mark, I've got to get over it. I've got to get over this defeat. I lost and I've got to make this decision. And I think my inexperience was like, I was taken back by it because I'm also inexperienced in the game. And I would have wanted him to I wanted to always talk about it. I wanted to drive him with the idea of the loss. And then I just saw, no, this kid actually doesn't need this. He has found his path. He's decided, he's going to put in the work. And he's been incredible. He was absolutely incredible for the Tristan camp in terms of, I didn't phone Rourke. I didn't bug him. I didn't say, Rourke, are you at training? He was there. I would phone him and he was already at training. He just put in a different level of commitment. And I just remember saying to Rourke, and he's here, he'll tell you, I said, Rourke, come the 10th of October, when you fight Tristan, I know for a certainty that you're going to surprise yourself. And he was like, what do you mean? And I said, you will surprise yourself. We'll chat about this afterwards. And he came out the ring, and the first thing he said to me, I wasn't in the corner that day, but I did come to Embrace. And he said, I surprised myself. And that's it. I mean, I know that Rourke will surprise himself with hard work. Rourke steps out into that ring and he's given 100% camp. I don't believe anyone in South Africa beats him. I truly, truly don't believe that. So yeah, he did that. He just surprised me just from that thing. The fight with Simon, he did the same. He had a brilliant camp. And again, he surprised himself.
And Simon's a credible opponent as well.
Simon's a credible opponent. I mean, a lot of guys were talking it was going to be a bar burner, whatever the term that they use.
Yeah.
It was going to be a cracking fight and all this nonsense. Vusi had spoken to me and he said, listen, I mean, I remember walking to the ring with Vusi and I said to Coach, how are you feeling? And Vusi said, he's going to be a champion tonight. So we knew what Rourke had done, and we know that if Rourke does that work, he's a champion. So I'm just trying to instill that now in all the guys. I'm very fortunate. I think Shavonte's a hard-working kid. Dwayne is very young, he's 19, so he's still got that thing of like,
go through the teenage years.
yeah, I'm going to have to do that again, be a dad, second dad. But Dwayne, I can see Dwayne's going to need that. Nelson's super focused. He's 20 years old, but he's just a kid that, he dreams big.
Okay.
And I love a dreamer. So, I've taught Rourke to dream. If you don't dream, you can't get anywhere in life without dreaming. So, he's a dreamer. Rourke's becoming a dreamer. Dwayne, I need to sculpt a bit. I'll be honest. Nothing against the kid, he can fight. That kid can fight. He's so underrated. You lose your first fight, people throw you to the curb. People forget a lot of guys lose their first fight and go on to be world champions. So he's a special little talent. He just needs to be shaped. He just needs to be reined in and made to understand what boxing is, what the professional side of boxing is. Quitman I'll have no issues with. He's a hard worker. He's come from that school. I mean, he worked with Colin. I think Colin instilled that in him. I really wanted to help Shavonte Quitman. I think he's 25, so we need to get moving with him. But I still believe, like we just had the Super 4 tournament, I think Shavonte he's talented enough to have been in that Super 4. That's how highly I rate him. So I think we're going to have a good year with Quitman. I just need to get him in the ring to show what his worth is.
Yeah. People need to see what he can do.
Exactly. People don't know what Shavonte Quitman can do. I mean, he's got a good record. I think he's 6-0 with 5 KOs or 6 KOs. People that are in boxing know him, but yeah, and I'm working on him with a little bit of charisma. I want him to show himself. The kid, he can fight. We know that. It's just, you need to be a star. So I'm happy with him. I'm very happy with Nemo Spirito that's training both Dwayne and Nelson. Well, obviously that camp will have a lot better sparring now, obviously, because I've opened a bit of doors, Hotbox. There's a lot of places where we can come and do some sparring now and help the guys develop. So we're fortunate now with that. So yeah, I'm exceptionally excited for the future. I didn't necessarily want to get into this whole boxing thing like I have, but I did promise myself, I did promise Rourke that when he won his first title, I would bring him in as a partner into our management company. So Rourke effectively is a partner, and that we would start to bring on fighters. So yeah, we brought on some fighters, and yeah, let's see what 2021 holds.
What's some video time there for fights?
Yes.
I want to ask you, lastly, are you happy with your haircuts?
Yeah, not too bad. I need him to take a bit more of the top, yeah?
Oh, you didn't take enough?
No, I'm going to bring him back now. This is how he is, bro. Half asleep, but he'll nip a bit more of the top. And but not too bad. There's no lines. He's lost a little bit of his skill set, but it's okay.
You're going to the
Anything
boxing.
for free is good, that's what I say. Anything for free is good. So,
all right, well, thank you for having a chat.
Thank you, brother.
We'll chat again soon.
Yes, definitely. All the best.